what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. My name is Alan Jackson, and I'll tell you what, I'm actually going to take that title off, so now you can see the names underneath us if you're watching on video. Again, my name's Alan Jackson. Over to my right on the video screen, but as I tilt my head this way, is Brian Jackson, my brother in tech, real brother, your brother. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good, Alan. Doing good. Just, I think I mentioned to you, I'm in a different location today in my my lab at my school, and it is freezing cold in this lab. So therefore, the jacket is staying on, and quite honestly, don't expect me to type much because my fingers, I can't really feel them right now. So I'm gonna actually. Yeah, I may actually talk a little more just to keep my body temperature up.
Well, I was going to say, hot air typically will help warm people up. So, and I know that you generally give off a lot of that during these recordings.
Yep. I bring it. I bring the hot air. Yes. So let's keep that coming.
I'm sorry you're cold. I think it was like it was about 70 here today.
Oh, nice. Okay,
it's nice. It was a good day. It's not too bad. Yeah. But the 50 degrees, that's not like outside temperature. That's like temperature inside where you are.
I'm pretty sure it's about 50. Maybe about 55. It might back up to about 55 inside here. But outside, I think outside, it's probably about the same temperature. So I can go out in the hallway right now and get a little more heat. I think I don't know. They're trying to freeze me out of this building, I think. Maybe they don't want me using this lab anymore, but so anyway, we're okay. We're going to make it through. So there may be a little teeth chattering along the way, and I'll mute myself if I do. So we'll get through.
Well, Brian, today on Brothers in Tech, we get together. This is our ongoing podcast about personal home and family technology. Trying to talk through every time we get together, we either talk about a topic of some aspect of personal technology we want to dig into a little bit. Sometimes we have suggestions and recommendations we like to give out. We've started talking a little bit about some efficiencies and things that you can do with technology to make things in your life go a little quicker. Today, I think we're just kind of catching up and a little bit of grab bag of a lot of stuff, because I think we've got a couple things we want to kind of catch up on each other on technology-wise. And this is a good time to do it. And I think we both maybe have a couple of either a recommendation or an efficiency tip we want to share as well. So it's a little bit of a grab bag. We're just kind of see where our conversations take us today and some of the things we're dealing with technology-wise. Yeah, it could be, but I feel good. I think we're going to be able to make something out of this.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Something helpful, something good. Can I go ahead and get the elephant out of the room?
Please. I've been eagerly awaiting hearing about this.
So anybody, for the two of you that listened to the show last week, and you heard my trials and tribulations dealing with my laptop. So not 2 episodes ago, we were discussing our latest MacBook Pros, I believe.
Yep. Your brand
mine
new
is
laptop.
3 months old. Yours is a little newer than that.
Yep.
And last week I updated to everybody that like within a couple hours before recording time, my laptop was the culprit of water getting into the computer, and my laptop was not starting. So I was in a little bit of a weird state trying to figure out what my solution to this was going to be. And just to give a little update on where we are, I tried several paths to find out what my options were for repairing. That included going to a local Mac repair shop here. And I swear to you, I kept the voicemail just because the voicemail really got me. I dropped it off at this repair shop and said, okay, here's the deal. Tell me what the deal is. I need to know if, water got on the logic board. Because again, water on the logic board is what's bad.
Yeah.
water gets and corrupts or corrodes anything on the logic board, that is bad, because that is the guts of your computer. That is the most expensive part of your computer. That is the one that's going to be the most painful to fix or replace. So I dropped it off at the service place. I said, look, just call me later today and let me know what the deal is. Tell me what's going on. So I get a message a couple hours later, or a few hours later, and it was from this repair shop. And I swear to you, I can play you the message right here on my phone. I saved it. I played it for a couple of my coworkers. I'm like, please tell me this is what they said. They said, yeah, I heard the same thing. The guy calls and says, yeah, we've diagnosed your Mac, and for parts and repair, it's going to be $150 and to get it fixed. And I heard the message. I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm like that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
I mean, yeah, it's money I don't want to spend, but compared to having what I thought it was going to be, I'm super excited. So I called him.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that is so great. I said, tell me what were the parts that are being replaced. I'm just curious for the amount. He said, oh, it's the whole logic board. I'm like, for $150? He's like, oh, no, it is $1,050. No. I'm holding you to the voice message. You said 150. Anyway, so it was going to be like with their labor and everything included, it's going to be like $1,200 to $1,300.
Yeah.
I said, well, just hold on. I'm going to go the route to Apple because I feel, look, I've been an Apple user since I was 12 years old. All the way back from the Apple IIe. I've probably, between my personal family here and my office, have bought new Macs every year, 40 years of my life. So I said, I'm going to take this to the Apple Store.
Did you practice saying this so that when you got there,
I did. I rehearsed
talk about the
all
history?
of this.
Yep.
I
okay,
did.
Good.
Yep.
Good.
I came in wearing like an old Apple's t-shirt I had from back there in the day. My hat.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
I have
Apple fanboy here.
I'm a Apple Final Cut Pro certified. That's a certification I got like 30 years ago. I was going to wear the shirt.
Bravo.
Show that. Just getting all into it. I have heard stories that, there have been some situations where you happen to get lucky at a Apple store and somebody there is a very sympathetic to your situation. Then who knows, maybe something could happen. And the fact that this is a 3-month-old laptop too. So I took it to the Apple store. I did not tell them it was water damage because I wanted them to see what they found on their own. And the guy tried powering it up, said, I can't get it to work. So we're just going to have to ship it off to our Atlanta facility and they can do a diagnostic and let you know what the problem is. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I know what the problem is. I'm like,
right.
I know they're going to ship it off and it's going to be expensive to replace the logic board. Obviously, they're not going to give me a deal on this. So that's why I told him, I said, well, look, there's a really good chance, the more I think about it, that there may be some water that got in the computer.
Now, I'm sorry. I just started thinking more about this.
Now that I think back through the whole scenario, the day and actions that happened, I do. Yes, I remember there was some water on it at one point. Would that be a bad thing? Is that bad?
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. Hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, yeah, that's actually water. Oh, no, okay. Let's talk about this. There
were hydrogen molecules and there were oxygen molecules, I think, in the same place.
Yeah,
probably to like
now
2 to everyone. Maybe that made something. I don't know. And so sure enough, he went back and said, "Well, let me crack it open. I'll take a look." Took it in the back. He came back and said, "Yep, it's water damage logic board." So that's about a $1,400 replacement. So okay, I'm like, I'm no better off than I was. But Brian, here's where I'm going to end the story. My laptop right now, I did not give it to Apple to fix. Did not give it to the local repair place. My laptop right now is in New York City.
Oh, good. Yeah, just for giggles or what? I
just shipped it away.
Decide to see if somebody on the street wanted it or what?
So we're going to see, and I'll be able to report back hopefully in the next couple episodes on the outcomes of this. There's a repair group up in New York City. I'll go ahead and share the screen for everybody so we can see. Hold on. Of course, I'm on my older laptop right now, and nothing is set the way I wanted it to, so it's very annoying. Okay. But yes, this is where my laptop is right now. Now, if anybody is watching or listening to this and they have had a bad experience with this company or did not work out, please tell me immediately. Please let me know. but
You
I've
do
read
want to
up.
know now? Is it not? Is it
What?
not too late? You do want to know, or do you want
Yeah,
them
yeah.
just to keep it to themselves?
Well, if I can find out tonight.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. So
so
right
the,
now.
the deal with this guy is Rossman Repair Group. Fairly well known in tech circles. He has been a very big advocate for the right to repair idea of computers, meaning it's the one that, people are fighting for more repairability with your laptops. Unfortunately, Mac laptops are going the opposite direction, harder to repair. The hard drive is soldered on, the SSD drive is soldered onto the board, the RAM is soldered on. You can't really repair things very easily. So this company, this guy that started this company, and their whole thing is that they believe that the idea that Apple is going to charge you $1,400 to fix a logic board that may just have a couple circuits fried on it is a shame. So they say they will take your logic board. They're actually going to repair the logic board instead of just replacing it. So it's about $600 to do the repair work and to get it back to you. So this is what I'm trying. Yeah. I do believe the issues on my logic board are small. I do not think it's widespread issues. Talk to them. They feel pretty confident that it's something that they can fix and do. And we will see. So that is what's going on right now. It is a good point. It's true what they're saying about repairability. They're saying that when Apple sees that a logic board, the guts of your computer has a problem on it, it's not a matter of fixing the logic board. It is just repair it. Or I'm sorry, replace it. And replacing it is that $1,400 to get a brand new logic board and have it put in and installed. The difference here is this is about repairing the logic board instead of replacing it.
Yep.
So
and
so we'll see.
You could probably understand why a company like Apple may not want to repair for you, right? For them, saying repair also potentially leads to maybe they do certain things, but they're not able to fix everything and all of that, and probably takes them quite a bit of time and energy. But if this person is focused on that and they have that ability to do that, and they of course want to get your business as opposed to you going and paying $1,400, so it seems to be at least I'm not going to say a win, because I know a win would have been your computer firing back up after you dried it, but at least it's a better potential outcome. So Alan, if they get your computer, check your logic board out and find out that they can't replace it, are you out any money to have them evaluate it? No, the evaluations are free. Okay. They do a free assessment. They say if you just have to pay for shipping to have it returned back to you. Yeah. So that's it. But there's no fees cost to you. If they look at it, give you a diagnostic and say that they can't do it, you just pay for shipping to have it shipped back to you. You basically give them an authorization, if you choose to, a pre-authorization of how much money you'd be willing to spend. Yeah. So if you want to expedite it, which is what I did, I went ahead and gave them my limit and said, this is it. They say, okay, great. Well, we do an estimate on the repairs, and if it's below that amount, we're just going to go ahead and do it. Just to kind of quickly get it done. But if it was going to be above that, we call you and get verification on it. So so it's like taking your car to a secondhand kind of repair shop, right? That says we can do it, and when you drop it off, you usually have to tell them, are you okay with us doing up to a certain amount, and then let us know. So that it makes sense. I think it's got a good opportunity there. So we will see for sure. The one last little note I'll say before we move on to you, with the newer laptops we've been discussing, and I think it's probably going to be close to the same on some Windows laptops over time as well, or even Google Chromebooks and so forth. I guess it just never clicked with me that because the hard drive, or the SSD, I still call it hard drive out of habit, is basically part of the logic board. It is kind of soldered onto the logic board. It is part of that. That if there's water damage in your computer and affects your logic board, the idea is that you're not getting anything on that SSD, your storage, like
files or anything back. Okay. They would be replacing the logic board, which means replacing the SSD as well. That's the other side of it, is that with a repair, if the logic board can be repaired, there's a good chance the contents of your SSD are going to be untouched and available to you when it comes back, versus Apple saying, hey, no, we're just going to take the whole board, trash it, put in a new one. So that's one thing to think about. Never had to deal with that before SSDs or before they became so affixed to the logic board. It used to be that, if the computer's bad, I can still take the hard drive out and I can hook it up somewhere else or do something else with it. Now, because you know me, Brian, and I am Mr. Backup, I was in a pretty good spot on this. My only challenge was I had backed up a full backup of my computer on October 12th. I left for a long weekend vacation, or like a 5-day vacation with my wife on that day. And when I got back to the office the following Monday, I had 2 days of work where I did not do a full backup of the computer. So basically it's 2 days of stuff I potentially have lost. It's not bad.
Not too bad.
I still have everything syncing to iCloud that's in my documents and desktop folder. So I got all that covered all the time, no matter what. But any movies or pictures or anything I had on my computer on those 2 days, I potentially have lost if they don't fix the laptop. It's not a problem. It's not, it could have been a lot worse. So I'm thankful for the backup strategy for sure. So, okay. I'm done venting and being depressed about that. So that's my situation. I'll keep you all posted here in the next week or two on that outcome. So,
well, I'm sorry that I know that wasn't the outcome you hoped for, but it does sound like potentially you may have the ability to get out without the full 1400, which would have been a bummer. So
that is my hope.
Hopefully so.
Well, Brian, so what are you what you got going on right now? What's going on in your life tech wise?
Well, let me go kind of give you a quick rundown of, so this is so my side project that I've been doing probably the last 3 or 4 nights is trying to put Homebridge in place. And so for those who don't remember, Alan brought up Homebridge, I think as a bit, right, a while back potentially. So what Homebridge, just for people that don't know, one of the problems with home automation right now, and we've talked about this numerous times, is that the different systems don't necessarily play nicely together. Specifically, HomeKit, which is Apple's standard, and the others, right, which is Alexa and Google Home. You can get a device that works with Amazon Alexa, and that device isn't necessarily going to work with HomeKit. And some of the things you've been showing me recently with HomeKit got me intrigued to where I'd really like to potentially move to HomeKit. But to do that, I needed to see whether or not I could take my current devices and get them to be recognized within HomeKit, because not all of them were capable. They were Amazon Alexa enabled, but not HomeKit enabled. So, for example, if I were to pull up the Home app on my phone and try to set up HomeKit, it would do a search, right, to try to figure out here's all the things we can see right now that we can communicate with, and it was not pulling up very many things. So there was a lot of things that I had that were Amazon Alexa only. So the way to get around that was to use a kind of like Alan, would you call Homebridge kind of a server, almost like a network server? Yeah. So you create a network
server app.
Yeah. So this server app that is through a web browser that you could kind of start the server and have it running on a computer that would then take the information that it's getting from these other devices, which it has a standard for, and then I guess producing it or sending it out again so that HomeKit can understand it, right? So it was a way of kind of converting that information. So I started doing it, and my unique thing that I wanted to do with this is I have a Raspberry Pi that I have that had been used for a number of different tasks. I think I talked to you about doing online darts with it and all sorts of little things. So I wanted to make the Raspberry Pi be the one that was the network server, because that's the only computer that I have at my house that it's always running, other than an Apple TV or something. So you can do that, right? Homebridge does work on a Raspberry Pi. It works fairly well. So I was able to follow some online instructions to be able to download it. I actually didn't sideload it like most people would, download it on your computer and then put it on SD drive, put it on your Raspberry Pi. I actually went to the Raspberry Pi and used the terminal feature on there to type in a bunch of code that would download the most recent version, install it, and then I was able to run it through a browser. That all worked, I thought, really well. It didn't take me long to figure out Homebridge, to go in and say, hey, I need to search for, and the way Homebridge works for people that are interested is you look for plugins. Alan mentioned this previously, but you go in and you say, okay, on Homebridge, I'd like to find a plugin, and find a plugin for, my Hue light bulb, or find a plugin for Casa, which runs some of my outlets. And you can find, and they're all open source, right? I believe. Open source, yeah. So you find an open source. You do have to, as you mentioned before, you do have to kind of search through some plugins, try to figure out which one works best, which one's the most recent. So had some of those, and sure enough, pull up my home app on my phone, and they start popping in, and I can do it allows you to scan a SD or an QR code on the screen that says, oh, here, use this, and it will automatically add it to your HomeKit. Things were working really well. I could name things effectively. Here's where I came with the problem. And this is not necessarily a problem with Homebridge. This is a problem with the devices I have. Everybody should know that one of my favorite companies has been the company Wyze, W-Y-Z-E. And I have all of my cameras in my house. I have 5 cameras in my house, 2 door sensors, 1 motion sensor. They're all from Wyze. And the reason I love Wyze is that they were fairly inexpensive. They're maybe $20, $30, even $40 for a camera. It's a one-time fee. You're not paying for a service. Unfortunately, most of Wyze's cameras will not work with Homebridge. And there's a reason why. So the sensors do. The sensors came in fine. I was able to name those, so when a door opens, I can have HomeKit notify me. The outdoor cameras, and those are ones that I have recommended before. They're the wireless cameras that I can mount outside. They last for about 3 months. I mean, they're great, battery powered, but they do not have the streaming protocol, Alan? When you have a camera, I need to think back. It's the real-time streaming protocol, RTSP. So RTSP is when you have a camera that has firmware built in to where it's always going to be sending a signal to some sort of network so that you can access that information often. Well, these outdoor cameras don't have that. What they have is a motion sensor that then kicks it on, sends that little bit of information to its server, to Wyze, and then you get the information about the movement. Unfortunately, those outdoor cameras can't be updated with a RTSP protocol. The other cameras that Wyze makes can. So I have a pan camera that's a indoor camera. That one is plugged in, and I'm finding out the reason why they don't want you to do this is because the real-time streaming protocol will end up draining your battery horribly, because it's constantly sending information to try to keep up with Homebridge. Right, if it were to do that, and that's a problem.
So that kind of goes against the whole long battery life that those cameras are trying to have.
Now, I don't know if you can work your way around that, because some of those cameras now have the ability to have a solar feature that sits on top of them and continues to charge them. But I don't think that Wyze has any interest in putting out firmware to do that. Now, they have put out firmware to change your camera to an RTSP protocol for the non-outdoor cameras. So if I bought a new camera now, they do have protocols for the newer ones, but these are an age where they're not going to update them. So I was really bummed. Unfortunately, Homebridge saw them. Homebridge said, "Hey, by the way, I see this. It's called, outdoor, or it's called the bar." but it only recognizes it as a device. So I can turn the device on and off, but I can't recognize it as a
see
camera.
the video.
Yeah, which is a bummer, and it
that's
kind of throws everything off that I wanted to do, because I didn't want to go buy new cameras. Now I eventually might get new cameras, because I find that there are some features that I might want to start using a little bit more effectively. But for now, that was kind of a bummer. So just, if people have gotten into the Wise ecosystem or others, I think there might be some others that are wireless that won't effectively be able to change to a RTSP. So what you do need is, if you're using a camera with Homebridge that doesn't work with HomeKit by itself, and you need to use Homebridge as an in-between, you need to change the firmware of that camera needs to support RTSP. And you can update the firmware in many of these cameras with a little SD card. You put it in and say, hey, take the firmware that's on here and update it, which I could have done on one of my cameras, but not all of my cameras. So it didn't make sense for me to even make that camera part of another system. So that's a bit of a bummer. It has been exciting to use Homebridge. I like it. I like the idea of having a Raspberry Pi that just runs it constantly and just sits there, and I don't have to worry about it taking up a lot of space. But it was not, unfortunately, going to work for me fully right now. So,
well, I am glad you got into the Homebridge space. I am actually planning. I actually was just shopping for it over the weekend, getting a new Raspberry Pi in just to set up for Homebridge, because the laptop I was using as a dedicated server is not out. Is out of commission right now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, right. I sent it to Mississippi. I'm just sending it out to states everywhere.
Yeah. There you go.
But I'm going to do a Raspberry Pi for it, because I thought that's really kind of just all I really need is just something to run that server pretty easy.
Okay, so on that note, let me ask you this: have you looked at Raspberry Pis recently?
Yes,
they are either not available or stupidly expensive.
Yeah, I know.
So for anybody who doesn't know, it used to be when I bought this Raspberry Pi, I think it was maybe a $50 package that I bought that had a case to it and everything. Now I think they're $200 to $300 for a package. And so I don't know if it's because of they're not producing them, or what? What do you know?
I think it is a supply issue thing. I mean, it is. They've been out of them for like a long time. Even the base level Raspberry Pi has been out for quite a while. I've been needing to get some for work purposes and could not find any anywhere. So that is a bit of a challenge right now too.
Yeah.
I hope those price increases are not permanent price increases. I think those are more built up because of the demand right now.
For sure. Yeah, I think so. Well, if you go on the Raspberry Pi website, it still shows, here, this particular model starting at $45 or this model starting at $35. It's just when you click on it to say buy, it says, out of stock.
Sold out everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere sold out. Yeah, the Raspberry Pis have gone fast. I don't know what's been the last year or so, but they are hot commodities right now. So just be mindful if you do go out shopping for a Raspberry Pi right now. Like Brian said, the only place you're going to be able to get them easy is you're going to spend a lot more money for them than you really need to. So I'm not in a rush. I'm going to wait till they become available again at normal prices for sure. But that is definitely the plan I'm planning on going on.
I think it's
it is a little disappointed about the video protocol on that webcam though.
Yep.
But Brian, that actually leads me into something I was going to bring up as a topic to discuss, and it's actually kind of nice segue into that.
Okay.
We have been talking kind of hit or miss over the last few months about this idea of a standard being released for home automation devices called Matter, Matter. And, I know we even mentioned it last week, just kind of as briefly, because it turned out that if you remember Apple TV, there were two versions of Apple TV, and one of the higher versions that you can get with more storage also had Thread compatibility. And we were kind of saying, well, Thread is a little bit of a home automation protocol, and it is. So they kind of work together to some degree. But Matter is going to be what is being rolled out now. is going to start being available in devices, new home automation devices that come out. And there will be capabilities for existing home automation devices to be upgraded to take advantage of this protocol. And what this protocol does, it alleviates exactly what you were just describing, Brian, and why you even got Homebridge set up on that Raspberry Pi. It is going to make devices, whether they were HomeKit compatible or Google compatible or Amazon compatible, make them all work together. Meaning you could be on an iPhone with HomeKit, say you want to add a device, and you could have a Philips Hue light, which is not a HomeKit light, and you'd still be able to add it, and it would still function and work just like anything else. So the idea, as a Apple user, this is extremely good news because we're in the disadvantage currently where there are a lot fewer devices made for HomeKit than there are the other platforms. So now this means that entire world, well, most of that world, there are some caveats, most of that world is now going to be open to us in the future. Any new home automation device, probably I'd say, if I was a betting man, I'd say are going to incorporate Matter technology to make sure they could be sold and used for anybody. There's a lot of popular devices now that are going to get retrofitted with upgrades to make them work with Matter. So it's very possible, Brian, that in the next few months, we could see that Philips Hue light bulbs that people already own will all of a sudden be available to hop onto HomeKit and be controlled there without any other type of Homebridge or some other type of solution to make it happen. There's some other devices that have been non-Apple HomeKit devices that are now going to be, hopefully, available to us. So this is where it gets exciting for me. I think this is amazing, and I cannot wait to see this come to fruition because it's very frustrating right now to go shopping for a device for my home and find out that either the HomeKit version is much, much more expensive, or there's not a HomeKit version, which means I've either got to decide, do I need this device? And if so, then I've got to look at a third-party solution like Homebridge to make it work, which is just adds more effort and complication to it. So this is the idea with Matter. Now, Thread that we mentioned last week with that Apple TV or Apple TV 4K device, that was the upgraded version of it. Thread is a form of communication between devices. Like right now, these devices, these home automation devices, some of them use Wi-Fi, some of them use Bluetooth, and all. Some of them even use like NFC, the near field communications, to how they communicate with their other devices. Thread is another form. I think of like almost like a radio RF type of signal communication that can go on between devices. So it's another way for them to talk to each other. So the way this is all going to work, Matter, you will not need to buy a new device to make Matter work. It's just going to be a protocol laid out across devices that you already have. So in theory, you don't really have to do anything to take advantage of this. Just when this has been rolled out completely, you will be able to go buy a popular home automation device and should be able to add it to your whatever home platform you're choosing to use. Now, this is going to happen in stages. I did read up about this and hear that what's going to be initially available are going to be your most common home automation device types. Your light bulbs, your sensors, your door locks are going to be available through Matter early on. I think basically your sensors, your lights, your outlets, like smart outlets are going to be available as well. The things that are going to be later on, not available initially, so don't get your hopes up on any of this, unfortunately, yet, are like video cameras, security video cameras, and Ring doorbell video cameras. Those are not going to be available through this Matter protocol in the first phase. It's going to be a while on those.
I think they have greater security issues about them, so there's a lot more testing has to be done, I guess.
Right. So I mean, this is good. I think this is very exciting. I cannot wait to start seeing. Now, granted, it is a new protocol. I mean, we assume it's going to work the way it's being said it's going to work, but we'll wait and see on that. But I do think it could be kind of exciting to start all of a sudden. I feel like the doors open up a little bit more to say, what can I now add to my home network here that I was hesitant to do before or didn't feel like it was going to be worth the time to do?
Yeah.
What can I do now that I couldn't do before? So it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. I will say it's making me rethink whether or not I buy any new cameras for a while, because I don't, and this would be my advice to other people. This is, given that a new protocol is coming out, I certainly would not buy a whole lot of new things right now unless you knew that it was able to connect to the protocol that you're hoping to work with. So if you're a HomeKit person and you see it works with HomeKit, you're fine. It's going to continue to work with HomeKit. I think the problem is, don't buy something now that you're hoping eventually will also work on another protocol because of this, because you probably want to wait for the Matter version of these, right? The ones that actually will contribute to that. And then you get more flexibility.
I agree.
In it.
You're right. Absolutely. The only caveat I'd say that may be a little different, if there are some extremely big brand name popular items, like, for example, the Philips Hue. Yep. I mean, I feel like, let's say if this Christmas there was a great sale on Philips Hue bulbs, and you're like, you know what? That's a device that, even though they're not right out of the box, maybe some of the ones were not HomeKit compatible. Well, I think the Philips Hue are for the most part, but I'm trying to think of a good, like, big name product that I know is not HomeKit compatible right now.
Is Casa? Is Casa?
Yeah, Casa is.
TP Link
got some Casa.
Okay.
TP Link is not. Okay. So TP Link would be one that could be. If you saw some great devices for sale, I would be tempted to say, if it's a big company name or a fairly well-known brand name and it's a fairly common product, I'd be surprised if those were not Matter compatible, like right on from the get-go, from the start. Or at least with a firmware update on those devices.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Maybe a firmware update. I don't know enough about where the protocol is built in, right? Is it that it's going to, if it's a software or if it's a firmware issue, that all you need to do is flash your firmware of whatever the device is, and then it sends out a protocol that then gets recognized by Matter. Fantastic, because that would suggest that even our old stuff would work, right? If they update it.
Now, it's still up to every individual vendor, manufacturer, what they do. But I feel like the big company names, they're going to do this. I would be a little more hesitant about ones that were like really off brand names, companies that really you don't really hear much about. Those I'd be a little sensitive about whether they're going to go through and actually make the effort to upgrade them or not. But your bigger company names, your brand names that are sold at Best Buy and other places, I feel like those are all pretty safe. I think they're going to have firmware updates to make them all compatible. And then all of a sudden, boom, those devices will now be available to you on your platform. Especially if you look at all these partners, Brian, these are the logos of all the partners who've come together to make this protocol work. Amazon, Apple, you got on there. You got Google, IKEA. We go on down Legrand, Lutron, which I've got some Lutron switches, which are great. Half of them are HomeKit available. Some of them on their website are not. So maybe that would open up all the rest of them to us. Residio, Samsung, Texas Instruments. There's some good companies in there that are work together to make this standard work. So,
and maybe I'll give the counter argument. Just seeing, even with Wise right now, where they're basically saying, you know what, we're not really going to put the effort into updating firmware of our older devices. I do worry that some of these companies are going to say, you know what, does it really make sense for us to update our old devices? But here's brand new devices that have it built in and want you to buy new stuff. That would be my only concern, is that, hopefully. But I'm also wondering then something like Homebridge, which kind of goes around and figures out a way to talk to some of these things, might then still open up that opportunity, right? Where you can get new devices, everything starts to plug and play right away and play nicely, but then you can, still build in others that don't have that for a while. So, because that's where it really is. It's if the firmware is written and tested and people and the company wants to put enough time and energy into it, they'll make it happen. If not, you have to work on open source folks trying to do it for you, and then you flash the firmware yourself and take a shot. But so for cameras, I'm going to wait probably. But you're right. Some of the other big devices, it would be great once we start to see that symbol show up on the devices that we're buying, and we'll know at least that we're kind of future-proofing ourselves for a little while. So
that's my hope as well. I honestly, I think it's great they're coming up with a protocol or a standard interface here. I'm kind of surprised they are.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised mainly the fact that I think Apple's putting the most stake into this from what I've read. They've contributed the most. They've actually provided most of the underlying technology to build this standard from. And you think about it, they have the most to gain on this because their HomeKit platform, as much as I like it, it's still far behind in terms of number of devices available to use, and consumer buy-in is still not as high as they'd like for it to be. This basically eliminates any of those barriers when it works. So Apple's got the most to gain. Google and Amazon, I don't really know what you can technically say you gain because practically every device I think you can buy right now for home automation is compatible with Google or Amazon. So I'm not really sure the benefit there other than just, I don't really know. I know there probably is a technical advantage and there's some business advantage to doing this, but Apple's the one HomeKit users are the ones that are going to make out so much better from this whole situation when it's done.
No, I think you're right. Except I would say the others maybe had been banking on, they've had several years to build their clientele. And they have several years built where people know to say Alexa, and that is what they've built their homes around. So maybe they're assuming, hey, listen, we've got this already. Now we can get people that are also, Apple people that might buy us a little bit more, or we can then work in concert where you can still try to purchase some of what we're doing. I don't know. I think there's got to be some. They've got to be reading the tea leaves on maybe where things are going. So, but regardless, I think it's a win for us. It's a win for everybody to not have to play this divided household of automation.
Yeah, agreed. I'm very, very excited with that. So
cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely be keeping our ears to the ground on this as this kind of starts to roll out a little bit more. Brian, I think Matter was something that was, if I remember correctly, was something that's kind of woven into the latest Mac operating system, or at least the version of the Home app on there. If I remember correctly, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I think that was something that was one of those. I'm just saying that to let everybody know that, yes, we know that Mac OS Ventura came out last week. And this is probably the first version of the operating system, Brian, that's come out that I have not upgraded to in the first week it's been released.
Yeah.
Mainly because of my laptop situation. I'm on an older one now that I'm already feel like I'm taxing so much just using it the way I'm using it. I did not want to venture to try putting on a new OS on a temporary laptop when I'm in flux right now. So I've held off, and this is kind of weird because I'm not used to holding off on the big upgrades to the new
showed
operating
a lot
systems,
of restraint there, Alan. A lot of restraint.
I will tell you though, Brian, kind of going back to our comments about the MacBook Pros from a couple weeks ago, we were talking about the speed improvements and how much faster they are. And I think I may have made some offhanded comment about, they're faster, but it's not, it may not be as super noticeable to a lot of everyday common users on it. To counter that and to make sure you really understand how fast those computers were, try using one for 3 months and then going back to a 5 or 6 year old laptop. Then you start to realize just how fast those new ones were.
Yeah, comparisons.
I am in pain right now using a 5-year-old laptop that I thought I was done with, and it kind of put off to the side, and it was going to be in my to sell pile. And luckily I had not sold it yet, and I'm now using it. But this is a learning experience. I cannot wait for that laptop to get fixed and come back. It's painful. All right. Do we have some bits and suggestions to share here?
I do. I've got a suggestion that I wanted to bring up, Alan, if you don't mind sharing my screen there. Yeah. Okay, so I have an app that I just started using, and
Okay.
so everybody will notice this is my lock screen. Okay, where you are looking at what happens when I wake my phone up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we talked about this recently about the most recent version of iOS allows you to start to take advantage of some widgets on your home screen. So I'm going to flip over to a different home screen. So this is another home screen that I have where I do have some widgets, right? You'll see I have a little
Mm-hmm.
icon there for, I think that's my timekeeper, and then another one for the battery power in my AirPods.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about how this is great, but it's also fairly limited in terms of what's available right now, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for it to grow a little bit more. Let me show you this. Um, so, Alan, if you notice here, I've got some other icons up there that aren't normal icons that we would see as being
Mm-hmm.
opportunities in Apple. The one on the left there is for Microsoft Outlook. The next one is for Twitter. Then there's one for Messenger, which is part of the built-in system right now. And what this is this came from an app, a free download, but yet it is a limited free download called, let me open up my phone and show you. It's called Lock Launcher. So this app called Lock Launcher. And what it does is it allows you to have a lot more flexibility in the widgets that you're putting on your lock screen. And so you'll see here that I created, well, these are favorites, but let me go over to this thing. You'll see I created a widget for Outlook, which is, allows me to, from my lock screen, just click one button and it takes me straight to my email. Or Twitter and go straight to open up Twitter. So it saves you one click, right? It saves you the ability or the need of opening up your phone, unlocking it, and then clicking on the app. It goes straight to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to click on this widget here for Outlook, and you'll see kind of what I'm allowed to do with this. I can choose an action. So I'm going to choose the action. And this is the part I don't particularly care for. It's not just giving you all of your apps. It's actually giving you a lot of suggested apps. For example, hot apps, right? I can click on hot apps, and it you can search through, and most of the apps that you tend to want to use are here. But really, what it's doing is it's creating a code for when you click that button. This is what action it's going to do. So if I wanted Instagram to pop up or YouTube to pop up, I could go ahead and add that. Which one? Well, I'm going to go back. So this was obviously one where I had Outlook. You can choose a custom icon for it. You can choose one of the icons that it has, which is kind of cool. It came with that one already built in, which was nice. You can make it a larger icon or a smaller icon. You can round it a little bit more of the background or not. So it's got a couple of options of things you can do. You'll notice at the top, that's an action for opening a program, but you can also have it open a website. So I could have ESPN. I always want to go to ESPN, so I could have that be just a link that takes me straight to a browser with ESPN. I haven't done this yet, but I'm really excited about doing this, of creating shortcuts. So maybe there's a shortcut that you could actually build within iOS and then say, oh, I want to run that shortcut the moment I push that button.
Brian, can I interrupt you there for a second?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Talking about shortcuts and URLs and all that. This is something's clicking here. So one thing you can do, there is a tool, and I can't remember if it's Homebridge that'll let you do this, or if you have to use another tool that will actually, any scene or action or automation in Homekit actually generates a URL as well. So if you think about this,
Yep.
You could actually have automations for HomeKit, individual automations. Let's say if you say
on your lock screen,
I want my whole den lights to go down because I'm going to watch a movie and set all the lights the right way. If I wanted that to be a shortcut on my home lock screen, you could pull that off. So that's where that URL and shortcuts come in. That's
super slick. Yeah. So you could have, like I have a couple of automations where I have, if I say, Alexa, good night, right? Then certain things go off, all my lights go off, certain things happen, right? I could have that as being a shortcut on the screen to say I'm home or I'm away or whatever. Yeah, That's pretty cool. So I haven't played too many creative things with this yet, other than to get some really simple things. Sorry, I have to go back to Outlook and save it. So once that's there, let me go back to my lock screen for you. So when I get to my lock screen and I click to customize it, now, so I'm going to customize my lock screen. Now when I'm looking and I'm clicking in here for all my widgets, there are widgets that are built in, right? These are the ones that are already there. But I can also go down to Lock Launcher. And what it does is you're creating the widget opportunities. You know, if you played with widgets before, you'll see, weather, and there's actually multiple versions of the weather widget. One that's small, one that's a little wider, one that's a little bigger. This is the same thing. It's showing you the two widgets that you created already. It's like, oh, do you want to use the Outlook? Do you want to use the Twitter widget that you created?
I see.
So it's kind of slick. You'll notice only two were created, and that's because that's what happens with the free. You can create two. If you want to create more, you got. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, it's $1. I think it's $1 to buy it or something like that.
So it's going to create two of them in the free limited version.
Correct.
But then you can fill in the other two, like in your case up there, with some standard ones that are standard house ones. Yeah.
Yep. So then that's kind of slick. Now, so that as of maybe a couple of days ago, I started playing with it and really like that, because I do find myself picking up my phone to go straight to email. If I can just click once and do that, that's fantastic. Let me show you what I just found out today when I was prepping for the show, which I didn't know could happen. If I go back to Lock Launcher, and let's see, where is it? Okay, on the home screen, I haven't quite figured out the favorites yet, honestly. I think if you have yourself unlocking lots of different things and using them different ways, you can create them as favorites. But up here in the top right, I just stumbled across this as looking at the options. There's this little palm tree thing. So if I click on that, now there's this thing called Live Activities, right? And of course, I don't have the dynamic island. I don't have a newer phone that has the island at the top.
Sure.
But I'm going to toggle this Live Activities on and take a look what happens here, which I just found today. Now there's my lock screen. It's actually giving me some apps to go straight in.
I know what it's doing. I know what it's doing.
Tell me.
So, Brian,
me
are you on 16.1? The latest iOS update?
I don't know if I updated 6.1 or not. Maybe. Let me see. Let me show you.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to.
Bless you. Yes.
Yeah, you
16.
are. Okay, good.
Yep.
So 16.1 that just came out in the last week. That is an update to the iOS 16. That allows for the live updates on your lock screen. Now that can be used for sports scores like ESPN if it supports it. We'll put up sports score, like live sports scores there. Other apps can push live information
there we go.
to that bar now. So now what's happening is this app you bought is able to tap into that and use that live feed as its own button launcher bar, which is really cool.
Button launcher is very cool.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, basically by clicking those things and for a free app, I have now 4 icons that can launch things, right? So I can actually take that top part away and make it for maybe, as you said, automations. The bottom I could make as my just some apps that I want to open up quickly. And you'll notice if I do scroll up, it goes back to my notifications, right? So super, super slick. I mean, for me, I may not even buy it. I may just use it for the 2 to add a couple of things for a while. But I would imagine eventually this will become somewhat obsolete where Mac starts to open up more things that you can do with this. But for now, this works.
And what was the name of this app again, Brian? It's
called Lock Launcher. All one word, I think. LOCKLAUNCHER. Lock Launcher.
Okay. Lock Launcher is what we're showing here. Yep. That's great. I mean, the fact that there could be a potential of 8 hot buttons on your lock screen. To me, that's huge because I would do the same thing. I would make the top bar the standard Apple icon or area for like sensors for me, like weather, I have my activity rings up there, just things I want to glance at and quickly see. And then I would make the bar along the bottom, the live update bar. Those would be that's my 4 apps, hot launcher apps from those buttons. That would be what I would do.
Yeah.
That's just me, but I love having that flexibility to work with those. So,
and now I haven't played with, I haven't done a whole lot with this other option in here, which is called lock screen memo. I did try that earlier. So if I turn that on and I typed in test as some example text, and I'm going to just do the clock just in case, and let's see what that does. So now when I go to lock, you'll see test at the bottom and it's counting down. And I don't know exactly what that's doing, whether that's the clock. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's the seconds for my clock. Let's just see what happens after 60. I don't know if that clicks over or if that's counting up for another reason. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not quite understanding the functionality here.
I don't either. Let's see.
For this option, yeah.
No.
So it's just showing the seconds.
I guess. Yeah. I guess.
Yeah, because I mean your clock just rolled over to 5:58 when it hit 0.
So maybe that's what it's doing. So maybe it's just a way of showing additional. Maybe if I didn't have the clock turned on the lock screen, maybe it would show the whole clock down there. I don't know. And I'm not sure what the test does. Like if I click on it, it's going right here back to lock launcher. So I'm not sure what that's purpose is. But again, I haven't played with it a whole lot. I'm not a huge fan of the app, the way that it's organized, the way that it's laid out. But it is one of these things that if you create it once, now here's what I'm really excited about is I'm thinking, if I did buy the app, which if it's 99 cents, I may end up buying the app, right? And create myself a number of these things. And then I start to use my lock screens as being focus oriented. So when I'm at work, here are the widgets that are going to show up. Here are the buttons that are going to show up when that lock screen. And then I get home and this lock screen shows up. And that's where my Twitter and some of the things I might want to do at home might show up. So potentially this could be pretty creative and a good way to enhance what I think Mac or Apple's going to do with the lock screen anyway. So, So that's Lock Launcher. Yeah.
All right, I love it. So that's great. So I may be installing that tonight as we speak. So that's,
so far I haven't noticed any glitches or anything. It's just it runs the little web address code that's needed there. So
perfect.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Okay. Well, it's gonna be hard to beat that, but Brian, I'm just gonna go really quick. And mine's not a super in-depth one. I've got a suggestion or a recommendation I'm making as well. Let me just show you real quick and before we wrap up here. But this is one I will be following up on later. So mainly because I cannot attest to owning anything from this company yet. But I'm always in the market of looking for new home automation devices or vendors selling home automation devices. Wise is a company we were just talking about earlier, Brian, you're a big fan of and you like the products they make. Well, Aquara, and I guess I'm saying it right, Aquara, is one that I've been checking in on, and I've got a couple things coming to me from them on order that I'll be able to report on hopefully in next couple weeks, how they turn out. But I love any company that's just got a nice variety of different home automation products, and they're well regarded. There's a couple other home automation shows I listen to as well, and I know they're big fans of this company, so I decided that was good enough for me to hear to say I'm going to take a jump and try some as well. They have a whole series of products. They've got cameras. They've got, you do have to buy a hub to use their products, which is, I don't like that, but if it's a one-time purchase of $30 to $40 for a hub and I can add all their devices from that, then I guess that's okay. But a lot of cameras, sensors, tons of sensors they sell, vibration sensors. Basically, you can make your own home security system from their devices. Door and window sensors. They have a water leak sensor. They have motion sensors. All these things work. The controllers are what I'm excited on is what I have coming to me. This one in particular, the wireless mini switch. I have been struggling trying to find the easiest way to have one button presses in places both in my house and my office to turn on Homekit or home automation scenes. And I know that different companies make this little simple one button, but I've been really surprised at actually how expensive they are in some places. I mean, we're talking over $30-$40 just for like a single one button push button to use. And I'm just like, it just seems like a lot of money for a one button push function. So this is the Aquara wireless mini switch. So the idea here is there's no wiring needed. You don't have to wire it in anywhere. You just honestly peel off the back and stick it wherever you want to go. And you can program this in HomeKit or Amazon or Google, other environments. And it can basically perform a couple different functions. You can have it do a single press to do one scene or automation. You can have it do a double press, or you can have it do a long hold press. So it has 3 different functions, I believe, that you can control from it. So for example, here in my den, I have a nice HomeKit set up to say that when I say to SIRI, hey, turn on my den lights, it knows to turn on. There's like 6 different things it turns on in here. Right now, I don't have a switch to do that. I have to use my voice. But there's a lot of times I don't want to use my voice, or I'd rather not for some reason. So all I need is this little button, put it up on the wall, walk in the door, hit the button, boom. Plus, when you have guests over to your place, and if they're going to walk into a room and they need to turn on the lights, it's really awkward to say, oh, you got to say this.
You talk to them.
Yeah. So it's nice to just have a simple button to do it. Here's the thing I was most excited about. $18. I'm sorry. You can't see. I just flipped to another tab. Let me show you the tab. I'm sorry. It's $18 on Amazon to get that little push button, which to me, that works. I'm okay with
That's
that.
Great.
That
works.
That is a good price for me on that. Yeah, here we go.
And I assume there's an app that you can go and code it, right? Like where you're telling it, here's the task to do, or is it something that gets coded in Homebridge, or is it?
It's in HomeKit. It's in HomeKit native. So
HomeKit.
If I'm in HomeKit and I attach it to my HomeKit, I see it, then I can attach an automation to it and say, oh, okay, cool. Single press does this. Double press does that. Long press does this. I don't know if I have to configure it in the Aquara app first before it passes on, but I mean, normally with these kind of functions and buttons, you can do the automation all from within HomeKit without having to even use another app.
Oh, that's great.
$18 for the button. The door and window sensors are $18 as well. Motion sensors, $20. Vibration sensors, $20. They do make actual wall switches like that you would wire up to your lighting system as well.
Yep.
So just, I like the pricing.
That's great.
I like the flexibility. I like the fact that they're all HomeKit as well as Google and Alexa all in one product. You got to get a hub, but from everything I think I've learned and understood, even though I hate the idea of having a hub for these different manufacturers and having to find a spot for it and plug it in and they pay for it. Supposedly reliability wise, they are much stronger with their own dedicated hub for their system than those that don't require hubs. So I can't attest to whether that's true or not, but everything I've read and seen seems to be the case. So if it means $30 buy my hub and then I can start adding these products to it, I'm happy with that.
That's great.
But the mini switches I'm really excited about. There's going to be the first things that come in, putting a couple in here in the house. I'm putting a couple in the office where I've got some lighting setups through HomeKit already. And I think it's just going to make things a lot easier for people.
I think that's fantastic. I'm thinking right now that I have a real use for that, which is in the bedroom. I'm usually the last person. So my wife will go to sleep before I will. I'm usually either working in bed or I've come to bed a little late, and she'll leave a light on. But I have an automation for, Alexa, good night. Will shut off all my lights throughout the house and shut off the ones in the bedroom as well. But if she's already asleep, I hate going in there and saying that because first of the response. So if I can just put a button next to the bed that is 1 click is good night, or 2 clicks is wake up, sort of things. I think that's fantastic. Yeah, that's going to be worth the $20. So, that's great.
I have my our studio at my office with all of our lighting grid for whenever we do some shoots in there. I've got them all set up on HomeKit switches and outlets, and it works great. if I have my iPhone to turn it on or if I use my voice. But every time I have somebody come into the office that needs to go into the studio, I either have to remotely turn on the lights for them, or I have to tell them what the voice commands are to use or whatever. So again, this is for that simplicity that you need.
Right.
You want to mimic the idea of a light switch as much as possible without having to go in and wire up anything.
Yeah.
But you want it to work with any type of HomeKit or Alexa or Google
I love it.
home setup you've got. So yeah,
that's great.
That's my kind of recommendation. But again, it's a little early in that I'm going on the words of a lot of other people. But I'll be able to report on it here in a couple of weeks for sure. But I'm liking what I'm seeing, and definitely like the price involved too. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right. That was
all
good.
right, man. Well, I think that's all we're going to try to do tonight. And like I said, it was a little bit of kind of a ramrod show, just trying out some different topics. Was that the word I'm looking for?
I don't know if that's the right word, but that's okay. I mean, I think we're going to run it.
You understood what I was talking about, right?
I knew. Yeah, sure. Ramrod.
Yeah, just kind of just pushing through, just doing a bunch of random stuff.
Yeah, drive it through.
Yeah. Not a lot of prep, just kind of talking and going. So it was all good. We will be coming back again each week with some more thoughts, updates, discussions on home, family, personal technology. But Brian, in the meantime, anybody wants to get a hold of us, what do they do to talk to us?
Yeah, they can send us an email at info@themesh.tv. Tell us about some topics you'd like to see us get into in the future, or if you have some bits or bytes that you want to share, info@themesh.tv. You can also go to our website at www.brothers-n-tech.com and see previous episodes as well as the most recent. So
perfect.
That's fun.
All right. Thanks everybody for watching and hanging out with us for the last hour. And we'll look forward to getting together with everybody again sometime soon.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.